Hi, I'm kchoi. Welcome back to my channel. If my background looks different today, it's because I am staying at my friend's flat in London. Before you ask, yes, I am filming my time in London. I'm going to be doing a week in my life video because I am actually still working while I'm here, although I'm just doing half days. So more stuff about London to come, as well as my other travels that I've been doing on this trip. But overall, this trip has been so much fun and I really can't wait to share. Before we get into the Q&A, I want to take a moment to thank this video's sponsor, which is Squarespace. Squarespace is of course an all-in-one website building platform, but it is of course so much more than just a tool to help you build a site. It really is something that helps you build your entire online presence and brand. Whether you're creating a blog, portfolio, online store, or whatever it is, Squarespace has tons of beautiful templates that you can choose from and personalize, plus so many ways to stay on top of your site analytics and stay in touch with your audience. You can use their marketing analytics tools, connect to your social media accounts, create email lists, and other unique features like member areas, which helps you create unique content such as additional blog posts, videos, or even courses that you can give audience members exclusive access to and earn some extra revenue on the side. From hosting your domain to managing everything else that goes into having a site, I really feel like Squarespace offers it all. And it's easy to use and you know it's going to look great as well. So if you're interested in trying out Squarespace, then go to squarespace.com/kchoi to get a free trial. And then when you're ready, you can use my code kchoi to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. All that info will be in the description box, so go check it out. And thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Since I am in London right now, we're going to start with some questions related to like being abroad. So first is, could you see yourself living abroad in the future? I could always see myself living abroad because I just love that challenge of moving somewhere new and then making it feel like home and finding your routines. I just find a lot of comfort in that. But whether that's super realistic, I don't know. I mean, if I were to live abroad anywhere, then I would love to come back to London, just again, because I am familiar with it and I've lived here before. But of course, as you grow your family in the future, not that I'm growing my family more right now or anything. But if I'm looking ahead into the future, it of course becomes more difficult to just kind of pick up and move abroad. So there's no like real plans to do that. But in terms of if I would like to, that would always be great if the opportunity presented itself. Have you been to Central Asia? I have not been to many places outside of Europe. So I've been to lots of different countries around Europe. I have been to Costa Rica and I have been to Korea. And other than that, I've been to Canada as well. But other than that, there is a lot of the world that I've yet to explore. So I would love to explore more of like all of Asia in general, which I know is a big area. Australia, New Zealand, South America. So there's nowhere that I don't really want to go in general. Someone said, have you left consulting because now your every post shows you're traveling? And I have not left consulting. I am just on vacation. How does it feel to be back in London? I found your channel when you were a student in London. It feels so nice to be back in London, and I really don't have like too many things scheduled for this week that I'm here. I really am just taking time to work and live and go about my days. I of course have like dinners and coffees and things like that scheduled with friends so I can catch up with people who are based here. In case you didn't know, I really started posting regularly on my channel when I came to London for grad school and was living here for a year, and I posted weekly vlogs. So London will always have a special place in my heart, and I am so glad that I have much of my year in London documented on my channel. Do you see yourself living in NYC long term? Why or why not? I think I might have answered this in a previous video before, but we will be in New York for like a couple more years maybe, but we will eventually go back to LA. Most likely, I mean, that's the plan for now, but we just know both of our families are in LA, and when we eventually want to grow our family and have a kid and all of that, we would like to be close to family. Okay, we're gonna get into consulting related questions now, which I think are like the rest of the questions. Things you wish you had learned earlier when starting off a career in consultancy. Nothing really comes to mind right away because I do feel like I just kind of learned things at the appropriate pace, but some things that I think are good to know when you're working in consulting. First is knowing how to put yourself into the client's shoes. There's a delicate balance between just doing every single thing that the client thinks of or asks or wants versus doing what you as a consultant know or feel is best for the client. So there is a healthy kind of tension that you should have while also making sure that the client is happy and feels heard and understood. So I think when you're just starting off, it can be difficult to feel like you can put yourself in that consultant position where you're saying, I understand the problem and how to approach this, and this is what the right solution is for your needs, and making sure you're still listening to what the client is thinking and wanting. So I do feel like that's something that you really do learn as you gain more experience as a consultant. And another one is that, being really organized and being a good project manager is really important, because you end up working with so many different people. There's lots of moving parts, not just with working with the client, but also internally, because you'll have your project team, and in order to meet deadlines and expectations, you have to be really, really organized and make sure everybody is brought along on the journey. So related to that is any project management tips. And I actually have a video with project management tips, so I will actually just link that in the description box and you can go check that out for more details there. Can you share some boundaries that you set with client/work? A main boundary is that I don't really work into the evening, so after 5 or 6 p.m., but I will wake up earlier and get work done if I need to, like if I still have things to do and I can't get it done within like the 9 to 5 range. And so the way that you set those boundaries is either just by saying no, like if someone wants to schedule an evening call, saying that you can't. Now there are exceptions though, because sometimes if you're working with global clients and you've got clients in Asia or things like that, you will of course have to make exceptions to this. Also, if you just don't respond to emails until the morning, then that also just signals that you are not an evening worker. And it's really good to communicate this type of stuff with your teams. So for example, I have a project partner who tends to work really early in the morning. And so they will send lots of emails and get things out in the morning before most people's days start. But we have an understanding that they are just being productive on their time, but they're not expecting a response right away at like 7 a.m. So having your own working styles and preferences is totally fine. And you just have to make sure that you communicate that well with your project partners. Starting at a Big Four soon, how to overcome imposter syndrome. That's a really difficult one, and I don't think imposter syndrome ever really goes away depending on whatever environments you're in. You could always still have a little bit of that. We're given this position for a reason. You prepared super well for your interviews and through that entire process. So first of all, just knowing that you are there for a reason is step one. And then I think just going in with a curious mindset and asking questions so that you can learn quickly is the best way to get started at a new job. You really shouldn't be expected to know everything, but you should be expected to ask questions when you don't know so that you can learn and then get even better in the future. I would also look for lots of opportunities for you to step in and take a first pass at something or lead something during a meeting, and just doing it, the act of getting that experience is what's going to help you learn and become a better consultant. Can I break into consulting from an average uni? So I don't know too much, to be honest, about recruiting from consulting firms, from undergrad students, because I personally did not go through that experience. I went into consulting as an experienced hire after I worked in a different field. So typically, of course, big consulting firms will target top tier universities because they want to get the best students. Obviously, it doesn't really matter what university you go to, you can have brilliant people everywhere. So while it probably is a little bit more difficult, it of course is still possible. And I think if you network and find people that you know in consulting, or just connect with people on LinkedIn, maybe they went to your university, so you can have a connection that way. But find ways to network with people. And if you are able to get an internship during university, then I think that will help you a great deal, because I think more important than your degree can be your experience. So if you're able to get some sort of experience, even if it's at like a smaller consulting firm, then that will help you immensely, in my opinion. opinion. Any tips on how to improve communications towards clients? This can probably apply to like internal partners as well, not just clients. But if you're writing an email, for example, make sure it's very simple and easy to read. Like utilize bullet points where you need to or where you can so that you're not writing like big chunks of text. Highlight or indicate things that are really important, or the key things that if the client is just skimming the email, they'll still get the most important pieces out of it. And if something is just too complicated to write in an email, then give them a call or set up a phone call because you can usually figure it out within like 2 minutes if you're on the phone versus like going back and forth with a bunch of emails to figure something out over email. And also clients generally have many other things that they're juggling on top of whatever project they're working on with you. So it can be tempting to kind of just get started in a meeting, but always be sure to set context, like refresh or recap on what you had discussed previously. And I think that helps a lot as well to just make sure that the client is really engaged and understanding whatever it is that you're talking about. How have you handled wanting to leave a job in the past? I am feeling depressed over it and dread going into work every day. I have been there where I have felt so unmotivated and like disengaged at work. So I know how you feel, and it is really difficult. There's no way to really sugarcoat that. And of course, everything I'm saying now is like in hindsight because this is in the past for me now. Where you are right now is definitely going to play a part in wherever you are going to be in the future. So I think having an idea of where you might want to go next is really helpful, and then figuring out the small steps that you need to take in order to get there. And that way it doesn't feel like something that's so far away and in the future. For example, for me, I wanted to move out of public relations and go into consulting. And so my plan for that was get a master's in management and then look for jobs in consulting from there. And so in order to get my master's, I had to work on my applications, which meant I had to write my personal statements and get letters of recommendation and take the GRE. And so there were like all these little steps and milestones that I had every 2 or 3 months. That was something that I could look forward to and know like I'm one step closer to getting to where I want to eventually be. So I think if you have in mind like a different job, whether it's in the same field and it's just a different company or like something in a different field, figure out what that goal is and then figure out the small steps that you need to take to get there. And hopefully that will help you kind of get through your days as you're still, of course, having to work at this job that you are not enjoying. So best of luck to you, and let me know if you have other questions as you're going through this. What do management consulting interviewers wish for in an interview? Of course, you have the basics like, is this person, capable and intelligent? I think interviewers want to see the way that you think, but also how you articulate and communicate that so that others can follow along with that thought process. And that's, I think, really where those like case interviews come in, where you're given like a problem and you have to explain how you would figure out the solution or figure out further information. It's really to see the way that you think and process information and then communicate it back. But I also think culture fit is super important, and if you are able to just like vibe with the person, I guess, I think that can help a lot. And it just helps if like someone can feel like they can see themselves working with you in the future. How do you stay motivated when you face rejections at job interviews? I have also been here after college. I went through so many different job applications and interviews and got rejected at many, many places. There are a couple of things you can do. So one is to kind of reassess your approach and your interview skills, your resume, your cover letter, get other people to look at it and weigh in. And then the other thing is to know that if they didn't feel that you were a fit, then they probably weren't a fit for you either. And eventually you will find a job where they feel you are a fit, and that job is also a great fit for your personal goals, style, and all of that. I think it's kind of similar to what I was talking about earlier with just think about those small steps that you can take. So can I redo my resume? Can I take another look at my cover letter and cater it even more specifically to this next job application? Focus on those small steps that you can take so that the big step of getting that offer doesn't feel so overwhelming. Those are going to be all the questions for today. Thank you so much for submitting your questions. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at kchoi because that is normally where I source my questions for these Q&A videos. Hope this video was helpful. Let me know what other types of videos you'd like to see on this channel. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!